I came across this passage in a book that I'm reading right now, and it really struck me, so I wanted to share it. The uncomfortable fact is that women are absolutely and unavoidably dependent upon men for their provision and protection, even when those women are single. Even when we are single moms doing everything alone for our children, we are still dependent on men in those cases. First off, there's the issue of things like WIC and other programs meant to assist single and low income mothers. These programs are largely funded by money taken from men and redistributed to women. It's just that the men from whom the money is taken are not married to the women who receive it. Women who rely on social welfare programs for survival are actually relying on men. Second, here are some undeniable facts. Men make up well over 90% of all electricians, drywall framers, plumbers, and construction workers. Something like 85% of truckers are male. The inventors of cars were male. The people who make cars are overwhelmingly male. The people who work in oil fields are overwhelmingly male. The people who drive the gas to the gas station are overwhelmingly men. In other words, we live in a world, the infrastructure of which is almost entirely created by and designed by and maintained by men. Whether we like it or not, we as women are most likely sitting on furniture designed by men and built by men in a space designed and built by men, reading on a device that was designed and built by men, or on paper that was printed in a factory designed and built by men, using inventions largely invented by men. Is it possible for women to need men like a fish needs a bicycle? Well, maybe, but not if that woman wants to live in a house and have a car. In reality, women also depend on men for physical protection in a very literal way, at all times. The reality is that even an unusually strong woman is essentially powerless against a man of mere average strength. Every single moment that you are not being physically assaulted, you have a man to thank for that. Every moment that women enjoy safety from physical attack, it is because of a man's active protection or because of a man's passive decision not to attack. Every moment you enjoy physical safety in your life, it's because the men in your life have chosen not to use their advantage of physical strength against you. And every moment that we as a society enjoy physical safety, it is overwhelmingly because of male police officers enforcing laws in local areas and because of male military personnel. So, and then it goes on. That's from a book by Ali Duzet. And obviously, I've seen the viral videos about how most of our essential jobs that keep the infrastructure of society are done by men, and how if men disappeared tomorrow, society would crumble because they do largely the most dangerous jobs, the most day-to-day essential jobs. However, I had never really heard it put quite so bluntly, and I had never really heard it framed that way, especially the parts about women who are on government welfare programs. Obviously, I've heard of the fact that the implementation of welfare and these social programs largely replaced the father in the home, especially for the Black community, with the government. But I had never really heard it put so bluntly that women who partake in these programs are almost directly still relying on men, just different men than their husbands or would-be husbands or the fathers of their children. And then also another aspect of that I just thought of is that still over 75% of our elected officials, I believe, are men. So when you talk about government programs, those are still largely enacted by men. Men still make up the majority of our government. So again, these women are dependent upon men. And then the last part about physical safety, I know that's going to probably trigger some women about this idea that every single moment that you're not being attacked, you have a man to thank for that. That will rub some women the wrong way. But if you think about it, it's true. It's true that a man is either protecting you, hopefully, if something goes down, but he's either protecting you, and even if you're not in a dangerous situation and a man isn't protecting you, we have male police officers, largely male. We have male military, as she said. We have males in these roles that hopefully keep the order and the structure and the civilization of society running. But you have men who protect you, sometimes directly. Hopefully it doesn't come to that, but it happens. Both on a domestic and on an international level. And then also men are, I don't know about actively, but I suppose at least subconsciously choosing to not use their power of physical strength against you. I don't think it's an active choice for most men, for good men, but they are probably subconsciously choosing to not engage in more primal instincts and the things that they actually could do to you, the things that historically they did do, the things that bad men still do. And so when you think about it, every single moment that women are not being attacked and are not having to fend that off, they actually do have a man to thank for that, or men to thank. And I just loved the way that that was articulated. So again, that's by Ali Duzette. And I just want to drive home the point. I had a really great conversation with Jennifer Strickland. It'll be out on her podcast, I Am a Woman. And we touched on this a lot. You know, women need men. And the idea that women don't need men is not only erroneous, it's also quite juvenile. And I understand from whence it comes. It comes from a place of very deep pain, generations and generations of pain and fear and vulnerability, both physical and emotional. But it is still a wrong idea. It is a false idea. It is a lie, and it will lead us nowhere good. And in the same vein, men need women. And I know that a lot of times online nowadays, it's men say they don't need women for anything other than sexual flings. But again, that is not only a false idea, it's also a juvenile one. Men and women are complementary. That is God's design. And yes, if all the men disappeared off the planet tomorrow, we would be screwed. Excuse my language. Society would crumble. But in the same vein, despite what just pearly things might say, if all women disappeared off the planet tomorrow, society would also crumble, just in different ways and for different reasons. There's no reason for a woman to try to be a man or a man to try to be a woman. We are here to complement each other, not to try to be each other, not to try to outshine each other, not to try to denigrate each other, not to try to subsume power over each other, not to do any of these things. We are here to complement each other. And I'm just so tired of this idea that we don't need each other, or that one is more important than the other, or that society would be just fine without one. It's simply not true. Frankly, I think possibly society would not be here if women did not exist, because I think in many ways men have built basically literally everything. They maintain basically literally everything. They invent basically literally everything. But I think in large part they do that for women. They do that because women exist. They do that for access to women. So if you think about it, if women just stopped existing or they never existed, would we have all these wonderful achievements? Would we have all these wonderful inventions? Would we be as civilized as we are? I don't think so. So again, men need women, women need men, and it's time that we start living that out.